This is the record tape number 58. Understand auto insurance. So as you know, guys, everybody hurts. All the clients have some kind of injury, and that's what we do normally here in the firm. When we receive from auto collision situation, we need to know first information about the policy, and this policy, this example that I got on the website, it has some numbers that describe the information on this policy. Like the number one is the name of the company, number two the name of the insured, normally is the driver, number three is the policy number, number four is the period, and sometimes we get a policy that's expired, or a very few times is not effective because it's going to start next month. I don't think I remember this year something like that, but sometimes happen. But if the period of the policy that we have is not in between where the accident happens, we need to have a new policy. Like if the client sent the policy for the previous year but the accident was this year, we need a new declarations page, so we know if he keep the same coverage or not. The number five is the drivers. We know who are allowed to drive, and sometimes there is excluded driver, that those who are not allowed to drive for some reason. Maybe the mom does not like the kid and does not allowed. Maybe the kid has another policy in his own name, so he don't want to pay more for two policies, so he are not included in this policy. It depends exactly the situation, but it's good to know if the person is authorized to drive or not. The number 6 is the VIN number. That's the identification of the car. Every car has an ID, that's the VIN number. Doesn't matter right now, but it happens that the client or the other driver gives you insurance ID card with another vehicle, that not the one that he's driving. Maybe work, maybe not, probably not, because the car is insured and the driver is insured, so we need to know what's the situation. That's why the VIN number is important. And sometimes there's like 4 cars and the person is driving the 51 and it's not in the policy. Number 7 is the types of coverage. Liability. Normally liability is against third party, so if you have a liability, you are cover against the third party, so everything that happens to the other, the insurance will pay to the other, not to you. Comprehensive is about the vehicle, the damages, somebody broke your glass, a tree fell over your car. Comprehensive is that. Collision, well, this is just repair your car, your vehicle is a first party insurance, so it's gonna pay the price, the value of your car back to you, the market value. So it's not the price that you pay in the beginning, but how its value today. UM, the underinsured, uninsured coverage, that's the first part also. And normally there's PPP, MedPay, some other coverage that's not in this policy precise, but there's other types that are not here. The number 8 are the limits, so these numbers are related to every single one, like bodily injury, per accident, per person. You can see each EA per ACCs, that's why. Comprehensive is the value of the car, like I said, and UM is the same. Deductible is how much the person needs to pay to the insurance to have his car back. So in an accident, to have the amount for his vehicle back paid to you, he needs to pay this amount of $500 in this example. In premium is the amount that they pay for the policy. It's like your lottery ticket. When you are buying an option, you are buying the right. So you have the right to be reimbursed if your car is destroyed. So basically the premium is that what you're paying. So some terms that we use. Carrier is the one who is covering your vehicle or your body or whatever, is the carrier. There's the underwriting, is the one that signed the documents. So sometimes there's a administrator and underwriting. So the underwriter sell to you, administrator is the one who pays. So it depends, but normally it's going to be just a carrier. The policy itself, policyholder is the one who bought the policy. Insured party is the one who is covered. Claimant normally is the client who is claiming something, and the adjuster is the person that we don't like but he works with us. So it's good to know his name, just to give him a sense that he's important. It's like, oh, you are important, so I need to know your name. Key terms for the insurance itself. Coverage, that's we need to know if there's coverage or not. Sometimes we have first party policy, there's no UM, and we don't know if there's coverage or not because we don't have the declaration page with us. Exclusions, same thing about if the driver is not on the policy, if it's only for Texas drivers, not Oklahoma. It may have, I don't know. The terms and the premiums and the policy period is like what we said in the first slide. So there's no new information here. So what is an auto insurance claim? Basically is when you invoke your insurance carrier to fix your car or to pay your damages of your vehicle or to pay the damages for third party. So when there's a fact, a generator of normally is the collision, the claim is what you do in order to fix the situation in pre-lit, meaning before filing a lawsuit. So before you file a lawsuit, normally you need to have conversation with insurance, give him the right, the opportunity to settle the claim, to pay the reasonable amount that you are asking. Normally is the property damage or treatment. So the claim is this process. The pre-litigation process is called the claim. So two things that we need to pay a lot of attention is these two gates, liability and coverage. That's why I say all the time, send an email to the adjuster requesting if liability is accepted, because they may deny for normally 3 reasons. Liability is not accepted because it was not at fault, or the driver was excluded, or there's no cooperation. They are doing this. The smaller insurance, they do it mostly, but it's like they are saying they did not have contact with the driver, so they cannot give you any answer about liability. So they're just denying in order to protect themselves because they don't have information enough for the driver about the collision. It's just a reason for us to file a lawsuit. It's not real reason. So if somebody is denying for non-cooperation, it's not a real reason. It's just they have hard time to contact the driver. And coverage is, well, this vehicle was in the policy, the driver was in the policy, the coverage is clear. So that's the question that we need to know about these two things: if liability is accepted and the coverage is clear. If we have these two answers, we can move. So that's why the first week is important to get this information, because if we have no policy, or if we have policy and we don't have a liability, we don't have a case. It's just the client is hurt and will suffer for a while, but we don't have a case. So if these two questions are not answered, we have nothing. Basically, is the important part. That again, that's what I said. Send an email for the adjuster every 3 to 7 days. If we don't have information about liability and about coverage, requesting if they accept liability, because Jared called a lot of the adjusters and put information file fine. Oh, adjuster said it was accepted. That's good. We have the recording of the call. That's fine. But it's better if we have by writing, because it's hard to file an audio to the judge. We can't, but it's hard. Like a video, it's hard too. We need to upload the YouTube and send the link, whatever. So it's better having writing with just a paper. So it's something that we can think further. But if you can get by the phone call confirmation, that's enough. So if the adjuster refuses to discuss any offer and he did not talk about the property damage, because normally when they say no, we're gonna start fixing right now your car, liability is basically accepted. So it's something to pay attention how the adjuster answer, because even with the police report putting their insurer at fault, they may deny because they have their own investigation and some nonsense. So the police report is very important because they give a lot of context what's happening, but it's not the only source. Also, if we have police report that put our client at fault, but we have a witness that goes against the police report, against the police officer, we can file a lawsuit with this information. It's not precise, something that is going to deny the case. It's something to think about it and analyze if it's worth it or not, because case lawsuits cost a lot. And the things that we need to see is accepted, like if the adjuster said liability is accepted, it's fine. The written confirmation is the best one. If they are just fixing the car like in the same week, they are like accepting. And if say are just gonna want more information about the injuries, normally they are fine. If they don't care about injuries, they just, oh, I don't have information enough. Yeah, it's a questionable liability, so we need to pay attention and what's going to be next. About the coverage, this is a case like we saw with Misty. It's a situation that she does not have the other driver was in a situation that her car was not her. They were in a divorce. I spoke with the attorney. They were in a divorce. The guy gave the car to the girl, but she did not transfer the car to her name, so she does not have insurance. But the insurance that he has, she is excluded because they have a divorce. So even if we have a policy and everything looks fine and we have a car, have the defendant, the coverage is not clear because we don't have any information of who is going to pay. But nobody's going to pay. She's broke. He gave me the information about the divorce off record, but they said that they are dividing $4,000. That's it. The whole life that they have together is $4,000. So yeah, we can recover $50,000 in meds for any one of them. Not if the owner of the car, not if the mom, not if the ex-husband. So if coverage is not clear, we don't have a case. So it's another point. Something relevant, ride share. If the person is doing Uber or DoorDash or whatever, there are two things. First, Uber, there's no Uber does not cover any kind of first party coverage for if you are the driver, but Uber has $1 million policy against third party. So if somebody is doing Uber and hit you or client, is $1 million policy. Send the client to treatment to deal all the traumas available, mental traumas for the past lives, for her mom. Send her to treatment. Make her bump the bills up because we have coverage. But if our client was a passenger of an Uber and the Uber caused the collision, well, we have $5,000 in med pay and that's it. There's nothing more. No hopes nor dreams. And maybe the client has her own insurance and she has a in her own insurance and she's just doing Uber that day, the applies. That's something good. But let's say the client was a Uber driver that was hit by another car. Well, the other car will have coverage. She will not have coverage because she's not Uber does not have and also her own insurance may deny because she was doing Uber, because in the policy normally there's exclusions, and one exclusion is if you said you are not doing rideshare and you are leaving, I'm not going to cover everything. So in the policy it says that if they are doing Uber, they have the right to void the policy. and if you have right to void the policy, even she has will not be covered. So if you are doing Uber yourself, I did Uber my life. If you're doing Uber, there's inside the app you can put a auto pay. It's like 3 cents of a dollar per mile. Then you have coverage, but it's a upsell. It's not something that's basic. And everybody wants to save 3 cents of a dollar because it's gonna change their lives, so they don't pay insurance. That's what's happened. Unauthorized use of the vehicle, another situation. The kid get the car and left. The kid, means 16 years old. In America, you can drive at 16 years old. Get the car and cause an accident. Well, 3 situations. First, he was on the policy, yes or no, it's very clear. But if he was not in the policy, was he authorized to use the car? Again, the exclusions of the policy. If he was not authorized, technically there's no coverage, because it's like if somebody steal your car. You are not going to pay insurance for the guy who stole your car. It's a criminal. He's need to pay, or he's never going to pay. But that's the point. So if we have a client that was a minor and the adjuster asks, oh, she was authorized to drive? Yeah, she was. Doesn't matter. She was. Don't let the client talk to them. Even if she was, get the car to go to the movies in the night, to the cinema, to the theater, and didn't set their parents and cause the collision. Always say they are authorized, because if you say they wasn't authorized, there's no coverage, so there's no claim, so there's no case. And the last one, unlisted driver. Like I said, if somebody is not on the policy as an excluded driver, there's no coverage also. The green lights is the adjuster is assigned. Well, there's all information provided. It's gonna fix the car. They send a letter. Sometimes, and I always, when I gonna open a claim with a third party, I always say all the facts, what happened in the accident, and when they finish the case, do you have any questions? My question is, what's the policy limits? 80% of the time they will deny, because I can't say it's against the law. It's not against the law. It's against your policy with your insured, that you protect the information, but legally there's no any damages. So sometimes you get a new adjuster who don't know what they are doing, and they just, oh, it's a minimum policy 30,000, oh, it's a 50, it's a 100. So it's a good information just to fish, just try to get. So in the end of your open claim, request information, what's the policy, just to see if they say. Because if I need to hire an investigator to get the amount of the policy, it's $200. That they're gonna charge the client later, but it's $200 they need to pay right now. So if we got this number, this limit, the amount of the policy the first time, we don't need to worry about it's gonna cost more than the limit. So something to try. We may get it. So 2 things. Always, if you are the case manager, confirm liability ASAP, like in a week or 2. If they still investigating, get the lead gen and go back and say, look, we don't have coverage, confirm here, just so we don't pay the lead and have no coverage later. It's better it's better that their mom cry than mine. It's better their problem than mine. So if they are doing the risk, if there's a risk, so they need to see. And about coverage, also get the deck page with the client as well. So these are 2 things that we need to always pay attention. So the types, I spoke very briefly in the beginning about the types that we have, but basically the collision is about fixing the car, your car. So when you pay your collision coverage in your policies to fix your vehicle in an accident, less the deductible, because this amount they're gonna discount. Oh, my car worth 50,000, but my deductible is 1,000. They're gonna pay me 49. So if your coverage is 50, they're gonna pay 49, because they're gonna take so the client didn't pay the deductible, but it's discounted for the amount that they receive in the end. So that's the situation. The other one, like I said, you hit the car, that's happened, very sad. So it's gonna fix it, it's gonna discount everything that I said before. I'm not gonna go deep in this. Liability, again, liability is bodily injury, the physical damage, the trauma, the pain, the suffering, the lost wage, whatever. And the property damage. Property damage also includes the loss of use, which means if you hit your car and you don't have your car for 3 weeks because you are fixing the car or because the car is destroyed, so you don't have the access to this information, to your vehicle, this absence of time, we can send a letter. I'm gonna send this letter to you guys so we can send to every client that we have on folder. I need to know the date that the accident happens that we have and when they get the car back. That's what Donna was doing, get this information. Why? Because we have two ways to get this loss of use. First is to get the rental charge back. So if the person will use a rental vehicle, we're gonna get the amount that pay for rental back. And the second, that's what we're gonna do, we're gonna get the average rental price for the same vehicle, year and type, and made a demand for this amount times the day that they was without the car. It's not going to be a lot, 1,000, 2,000, maybe 3,000. It's not going to be a lot, but this amount will help us to pay back the lead, because the lead is a cost that we spend a lot. About the bodily injury, well, it's medical bills, rehabilitation, lost wages, and pain and suffering. Medical bills are very clear. It's the bills that we receive. Rehabilitation, we have very few cases. I can count in my fingers. I think it's about 3 or 4 that we use. So it's about the future costs. So we put all demands that they're gonna have 100,000 in bills in the future, but it's not very clear because he may not. But some clients need this rehabilitation. That's why it's here. Lost wages is if you are lost in days of work or weeks, this amount is accountable. We have a client, he's a chef de cuisine, and he was 3 weeks without working because of the accident, and he earned about $1,800 a week. So the amount 3 times is about $8,000. And this amount we're going to include in the demand for the bodily injury claim against the third party. So sometimes it's $20,000 in bills, but they have 3 weeks without work. It's going to be 30,000. We can get this for the third party claim. In pain and suffering, we're only going to get this, and there's no economical damages. We're only going to get this in the lawsuit. We're not going to get this in a pre-trial, but we need to input this as a total value of the claim. Yes, Carlos?
Sorry. So for the lost wages, does that count only for when they are employed or when they have like their business, if they are like, if they sell something or
No,
they are independent contractors?
it's work for the business, but the way to prove is a little different. We need to get the average of what they earn in the last 90 days normally and get the average of that. If it is a company that's yearly, we need to have the last IRS, how can I say IRS? You know IRS, the income tax.
Yeah.
You get the last IRS income tax that you pay and see what's the amount that you received last year, divide by 12, divide by the numbers of the days, and try to get this amount. So it's possible.
Right.
Depends, but it's possible. It's a little more complex to prove, and also if we are trying to prove this, we need to bring these documents to the insurance. So it's like, I don't want to give my income tax to the insurance, but it's possible. It's possible.
All right.
Property damage, like I said, I'm just jumping the information. The vehicle, the repairs of the car, the rental, or the loss of use. The loss of use is this data they're going to send to you guys. Other property, depends. If destroy something and it's yours, you can get as well. So property damage is always that not hurt. If not hurt, is property damage. UIM. Underinsured, uninsured. Well, one insured is what the name says. The other driver has no insurance. So in this case, you're gonna use yours to pay for the medical bills. It happens when there's a collision and we see in the police report there's no information about the insurance. the person may still have insurance, but we don't have any information. But when the client has insurance, we need the deck page to see if they have coverage for UM, because that's the amount they're gonna use to the treatment. Now, underinsured means the other driver has a minimum policy 30,000, but the bills are 50. So we're gonna get this difference because he is underinsured. He's not insured enough to cover everything. Like I said, I'm just jumping information fast here, but yeah, like I said, UM is the guy don't have insurance. UIM, they have insurance, but it's not enough to coverage for all the treatment, all the expenses, everything that's related to the accident and the injury that the person needs. Again, I should read this thing before, but basically, yeah, if the bills are more than the coverage that the other driver has, the difference we're gonna charge for the first party insurer, that's the UIM in this case. Well, blah blah blah. I'm gonna take out these examples. So these other claims, the PIP and MedPay. PIP is a personal injury protection. Normally it's 2,500, 5,000, 10,000. I don't think there's bigger than that. But it's a no-fault first-party insurance, meaning if you was at fault or not, you can get it. If you was the one that made the wrong, you can get it. But it's like the guy has 2,500. I'm gonna like bite a third just to get the bill. It's like it's kind of unfair for the attorney. I don't really care, but it's kind of fair. But like we have two clients, the Whiteheads, the couple. They only have PIP, nothing more. And there's the other part has no insurance. There's no there's only PIP. And the insurance is pay half of the PIP because it's the reasonable to pay just half the bill by the average amount of the price. It's just a nonsense, but they do that. And MedPay is kinda like PIP, but it's less, 1,000 or 5,000. 5,000, like I say, is like progressive, like a Uber coverage for Uber insurance for. It's covered by Progressive is 5,000. But MedPay, there's a problem. It's not a problem, but there's a subrogation rights, which means if they pay the insurance and later you find you have another coverage like or third party, they have a lien and a right to recover the amount that they spend in the first place paying for the treatment. So whatever happens. So PIP, you have expense, you just get the check and forget about it. MedPay, they're gonna pay, but they're gonna charge you later if there's any other coverage that was not disclosed in the beginning. In this situation, we're gonna get the check from the PIP, and we're gonna talk with the adjuster to get a waiver. So so the insurance will waive the rights to the subrogation, so they not get it back. Some we can get, some not. Depends. Like I said, PIP is a first no at fault coverage, so doesn't matter what if at fault or not, you can get this amount. So like I said, if we have a client, it's 2,500 the coverage and the bills are already 5,000, just send a letter, request the PIP check, and they're gonna send the check and you just put in the settlement, receive it and forget about it. Why do I do that? Because we have some providers, not all of them, hospitals for sure and ambulance for sure, they will just get the PIP from the client because the client is hurt with the broken bone, with a pen like this, bleeding, sign the assignment of benefits, and they sign this document that allowed these providers to get the money in their name. So hospital will buy the PIP without question, and ambulance for sure as well. Some provide some Cairo, they have this assignment of benefits that they made the client sign as well, but because of the LOP they will not use, but they have it. So in the end, let's say the client treat, there's no coverage, but the client has PIP, the provider will want his money. So if you call, oh, look, unfortunately the client has no coverage, he's the first one to send a letter request the PIP. So that's why I request the PIP earlier, just to be sure. And MedPay, there's no guarantee that we're gonna keep the money. And to be honest, if we get the MedPay and send to the client, and well, The MediPay wants the money back. They're never gonna back. They're never gonna get this money back. That's why we need to request the waiver, because they will never return this money. Forget about the client. So comprehensive, we don't do this a lot, but it's good to know. Is if somebody steal your car, it's burned, you let in the parking lot, and there's just hail, like balls of ice in your car. Somebody kick your door, or you just hit a cow in a highway. You know, comprehensive. They're gonna pay for this. That's why. This is a scenario when there's a hail in the car. Yeah, I never let my car. I'm not stupid, but yeah, it happens a lot. By the way, a lot. There's an entire industry here in Texas only for comprehensive. They said we're gonna fix your car for free, and you get your car, they open a claim, get the comprehensive, and buy. You can do. You can do. What is this shit? Cool. So these towers. So now that I talk all this nonsense, all this coverage, all this liability and whatever, what's these towers? But I sent you an ebook 2 weeks ago. I don't know if you guys have time to read, but read is very interesting. Towers was a furniture company, so they make furniture, and the driver of the truck that delivers stopped the car in the middle of the road in the night, and the car remains for an hour there. And this girl, she works in a pharmacy, she was in a taxi, and the taxi was just driving and hit the truck for the towers and cut her throat, bleed, almost died. Terrible, terrible. But the bills was about $12,000. This was 1920. $12,000 at that time is like $300,000 today. And the attorney made a demand in the middle of the lawsuit, so the insurance for these towers pay the full policy limits at first $4,000. And the attorney for the insurance, he says, well, I want to pay half of it, and this tower is gonna pay half of it. And of course the attorney for the girl never accept that, and get the decision, the trial, and they were awarded to pay the full amount of $14,000 plus interest, etc. And the towers file a lawsuit against his own insurance, because his own insurance has the obligation to pay the limits, and they breach this duty. So they have the duty, and you pay somebody to fix your problem, and he didn't fix. Basically was that. So he pay this company to protect him, release for the damages by offering policy limits, and the company didn't. And the judge in this case said that when an insurance company has a duty to pay the policy limits and reasonable, they don't, they are liable for the excess. So if I have a client that broke both legs, the bill is $100,000, and I send a letter to the insurance, look, insurance, pay the policy limits of 30 or be liable for everything. And he said, well, I think the bills are only 20. I offered 20. He broke the duty. I go to the lawsuit, get a jury of 12 people, gonna say not only the 100,000, but pain, suffering, mental anguish, impairment, a disfigurement because there's a huge scar, and $1 million. Well, the driver won't pay $1 million. The insurance won't pay because they breached the duty to pay the policy limits when they have the chance. And if they pay the limits when they have the chance, we go after the So they said release. So when we send the demand, we are giving this opportunity to insurance to release their client for the problem. If they offer the policy limits, they said, look, I don't have this problem anymore. My client can go to bed and sleep, and this is not gonna hunt it like a ghost. No. In this scenario, like you can see here, the insurance has a $100,000 bill, didn't pay, so it's basically what I said here. I don't know if you read before, but yeah, it's basically the same thing. So this situation, when I send the letter, I always put in the letter, the last paragraph is this for cases. As GA Towers versus American Indemnity, one liable is the other driver is liable, so that's why we need liability in the first place. The damages sustained by the client medically confirmed exceed the limits. The bills are higher than the policy limits. The demand is made for the 100,000 or the policy limits. So I made the demand for the policy limits, and we offer a full release. That's why we need release for the insurance. So if they send me the policy limits, the full amount, I'm gonna release them for the problem. They don't need to worry about me anymore. I'm not gonna be in when they gonna leave the work with a shotgun, get the money. They're gonna forget about me. It's gonna be fine. But if they send me the release, if not, well, we go to the file a lawsuit and go after everything that's on. That's why we need to get the meds to go above the policy limits, even 1,000, 2,000 above. It's 30,000, let's get to 32, so they can feel a little afraid of blow these towers. Because if they blow these towers, they're going to be responsible for everything. About Soriano. Soriano is another case, another doctrine here in Texas. Basically, we have 5 cars that destroy in an accident, and I have 20 people that are broke. So who the insurance is gonna pay? Because they only have $30,000 for person, 60 per accident. I have 20 people. What's gonna do? This is Audrey. That's I asked Angel to get this medical records as app because this is Audrey. Audrey, she was the passenger of the person at fault, meaning she can file a claim against the driver. That's her husband, but doesn't matter. She was the passenger. She can open a claim against the driver. But the other car that his driver hit her in the middle. There's 3 people that has broken bones and sadness and a long life of sorrow and despair because of this accident. And well, they need to recover. So they need to make a claim for the policy limits as well. I made the demand, request a policy limits because patati patata, he's in pain and suffering. But the adjuster said, look, I receive your demand, but it's not reasonable for us to pay policy limits because there's no bills. The accident was yesterday. I don't have any bills. She went to the hospital. I don't have any bills. I just made the demand because to protect the Soriano issue. The Soriano says the first one who claims the amount that's gonna exhaust the limits of the policy will receive the money, and the others will cry because the insurance comply with his duty to pay the policy limits when it was claimed. So I claim first. I'm hopefully to get this money first, but my demand has no medical records. So the point is, I'm the first with the plate to receive the money. So that's why I need the records. I know that if they receive another claim for the other party, I am in the line, even without the records. But we need the records. That's why I request these documents. So if we have a limited coverage, we only have 30,000. There's no UM, no way. There's nothing. Only 30,000. And there's multiple injuries, multiple claims, multiple persons, multiple cars, and it's only 30,000. It's first come, first serve. So we need to send this today. We have some clients. I think it's what's the other? Stephanie. I think it's Stephanie.
Yes, Stephanie.
Yeah, Stephanie. Stephanie is the one. I have the $20,000 bill that Karen helped me yesterday to get the records, and we need to get it as app because it's gonna reach the limits right now. If it is 30,000 limits, and if we need this like today. It's like 5 cars, if I remember. The vehicle number 4 hit her, the number 3, and also the number 5 rear-end her. So we're gonna file against both simultaneously, make them fight. I don't know who is liable in this case. No one knows. The police report said whatever, some of them. So we're gonna file the demand against the number 3 and number 5, because number 3 hit her in the side, number 5 hit her in the back. So they have the chance, the opportunity to offer the policy limits to pay for the claim. Or we're gonna file a lawsuit against everybody. It's gonna be beautiful. A lot of finger pointers to people without nobody payment, and well, the one who gonna lose is gonna pay the limits above whatever is exceeds. So in this scenario, there's 3 people hurt, and there's a limited policy of 60. So the first is gonna get 30, the second was Carlos. Here, Carlos, you are hurt. You see, he's gonna have 25, and Daniel has 20, but gonna receive only 5 because that's the amount available in the end. So unfortunately, because of this distribution and this doctrine of Soriano, the limitation will be distributed between the injured parties, and our obligation is try to get the limits for our client. So that's the part. Basically, that's it. I wasn't hoping to finish. How long was that? 50 minutes? Yeah, less than an hour. Okay, what I'm gonna to do, I'm gonna send this later, but I am open to questions. Is there a thank you here? Yes, there is. Okay, any questions? I know there is. Please don't rush. Don't rush.
Yeah.
I can wait.
The store's duty is the one that we use for the demand, right? As an example.
For third party. So if we send demand to the third party and they don't offer the policy limits, they are liable for all whatever amount is. If you get a jury that says you are a poor girl, that the history matters. The history. That's why I ask when you are doing the intake, get the history. What happens? What are you? You are a doctor. You are a nurse. What are you? What you're doing? How this accident destroy your life? What's the future? If this injury impact you for your career, you need to have another career. You need to work in another sector. This all implies, because let's say you broke your right hand and you used to work and you can't use anymore. It's like a crook. So what you gonna do? You need to do another thing. You need to stop working with your right hand. You need to work as a teacher. So you need to have a vocational, a professional that's gonna change your life to learn. Oh, you're gonna be a teacher in English. So you're gonna study 5 years. How much cost for you to be a teacher? It's gonna cost 50,000 a year. It's 250,000 damages here just to change your career. Oh, but because I can move my hand, I need a prototype of another physiotherapy for 20 years, another 500,000. So the bills that was 30,000 at the beginning become 6 million. You can see how it grows. So, but I'm gonna talk about litigation in another video. But yeah, but one thing that's important, the stowage duty only applies to third party. Which means we have a client, there's no third party, there's only UM and PIP. She have 32,500 in coverage, and the bills are 32,200. It's very, very close. That's why I said close the case and send the bills, because UM, if we have 30,000 in coverage, we're gonna get 30,000. If I have 40,000, we're gonna get 30. So if there's only UM, we are limited by the amount that's available in the policy, and that's it. The stowage duty only applies for third party. Okay.
Okay. And Mr. Hyde said something yesterday. I don't know if anybody else remember exactly what he said. So basically, he said that if the UM doesn't respond on time, we could either way ask them for coverage. Something like that.
No, not exactly that. What they are asking is if we receive a deny of coverage, if they say, oh, they don't have PIP or UM, we need to request the written rejection of the PIP and the UM. So when you are buying your insurance, they make you sign some papers. I don't want PIP, I don't want UM. So this written rejection, this document that said that you have the chance to buy and you choose not to buy this coverage, this document, we need them in order to preserve the client of the right. Because if the insurance did not send this document to us, they still liable because they don't have this proof that it was rejected. It's like they are saying you denied, but they don't have evidence, so they're gonna pay. They're gonna pay if they don't have. That's why we need to request the written rejection of PIP and UM, if it's UM. Next. No more.
So with Soriano, like the case that you were talking about, where you sent the demand with no bills.
Hmm.
So we're technically the first in line, even though we sent the demand with no bills. So we
Yeah,
have first priority.
yeah. No, it's not priority, but they need to evaluate our demand. What the adjuster said was very interesting. He said, "I cannot offer the policy limits reasonably because I don't have the meds to evaluate." And I said to him, "You don't need the meds to evaluate pain and suffering from the accident. You can offer $1,000 if you want." But why? He didn't offer $1,000. He didn't offer anything, and he has a duty to offer policy limits. And he offered anything. He said, "At this time, I cannot offer." Said, "Look, a non-denial is a denial. You need to offer anything for me, and please offer me less than policy limits so I can open a lawsuit and goes blow his towers." See? But he's like, "No, I need the bills in order to," because they're just all these adjusters. They only see numbers. They don't see suffering. They don't see people. They don't see history. They don't see stuff. They just see numbers, and they have a range of payment that they are allowed to offer, depends of the case. So just to make them scared, when you open the claim, "Oh, what happened? Oh, there's an accident. There's some fracture. I don't know anymore," and that's it. Because when you said there's a fracture, if there's not, they're gonna put an adjuster whom with more authority to give you a offer higher. So just said, "I heard that there's a fracture, but I'm gonna send everything in the demand," and let them be scared for a while. Let them shake a little, you know, because when you are open the claim, just said, because if it's a soft tissue, they're gonna offer $1,000 with the adjuster who have authority to offer 2,000, and that's it. And we got a Nicole. She went for 6 months and chiropractor. She just got a massage for 6 months and she wants $1 million. I also want to go to 6 months to get a massage and request a. There's the situation. So in order for to proper evaluate the claim, we need to have these situations like the treatment needs to be comprehensive. We need MRI. So when I send a letter requesting records, send a LOP to the provider, just said request MRI ASAP. I want, I will never gonna open this file, but I want this imaging, I want this information because the MRI give value to the claim. And physical therapy is a lot of value to the claim. But chiropractor, no. Chiropractor, that's why we don't do reductions on chiro, because the guy is squeezing the hairy back of a guy for about a year. You're gonna hurt him like paying half for the bill. It's the only one that's working. The guy for MRI, they just take a picture of the back and that's it. And he wants 5,000. Because the machine is expensive. You pay this machine like 20 times already. Don't bullshit me with this amount. But yeah, the chiro, no, the chiro, he needs to be every day squeezing the hairy back of a guy for a year, and that's why they don't like reductions. And that's why we need to send to MRI, we need to send to physical therapy, we need to send it. Everyone, and I mean everyone, you need to send to mental health. Oh, but my head is fine. No one head is fine. Everybody has a mental problem, if they accept or not. But what's the point? The point is normally we have PTSD. I have a collision in 2021, and I was wrong. But the point is, I was hit in my side, so I didn't saw the car, and for most probably a year, every time I was in a crossroad, I was like apprehensive somebody's gonna hit me. So I know an accident make you think, and you can stress about it. And I treat in the way that a man does, with alcohol. There's no therapy for men. But for our clients, we need to send to mental health because the insurance will pay. So yeah, even every time we have a client, send to Elevate, send to this mental health institute. They're gonna see if there's another thing there. And the doctor is like, if you go to Google, I have a pain in my leg, the Google will say cancer, you know. So yeah, if you send to the doctor, they're gonna find something. Everybody has a mental problem, and this kind of cases make value to the claim. So even if they say I don't need it, just do it, you know, even if it's just 1 or 2 visits, because it's easy to send them to the mental health, and the doctor said, well, he looks fine, I'm gonna release about 2 weeks of conversation, he does not look have any problem. It's better have this bill that he tried to look for the treating that has nothing, and we cannot claim this amount for the insurance. Okay, another hook for me to get it. Nope. One.
Is there any strategy to get the policy limit of coverage? Because I got an example.
Mhm.
Ricardo Beltran case, apparently the defendant car was owned by a business.
Mhm.
And he called me yesterday worried because apparently he needs more treatment
Mhm.
because he was referred to an evaluation. And he was worried about the limit. So I'd
Yes.
explained that we can negotiate that, and
Yeah, and
don't worry, please complete the treatment because this is real important for the case.
Mhm.
And he mentioned that he was investigating, and the policy limit for business is way higher
Yeah,
than the regular 30K.
yeah, could be $1 million easy. We have one that's 5 million for Whitney, I think, but it depends. But the point is, higher the policy, easier for them to deny because they are not afraid of exposure. The guy who has $30,000 in a bill that's 100, they are afraid to exposure and pay more than 30,000 because the premium that they receive is small. But the guy has $1 million, he are not afraid to pay 1,100,000, you know. So they're not afraid to exposure 2 million. You know, it's hard to get $1 million. So the higher the policy, the easier for them to deny because, well, it's easier to hold $1 million in their pocket for a while than pay it in a lump sum. But if it's a commercial, it's good because probably the policy is minimum 100, and I don't think there's a problem. The only thing that we're gonna say is, look, the minimum policy in Texas is 30,000. Okay, go treat yourself. I will keep the eye in balance like I ask for Raza to do all the time, and I gonna see when the bills are reaching 30,000. I gonna hire an investigator that works inside the insurance company, and I gotta get the number exactly for the policy. And if the policy is 30,000, we're gonna send a demand for this amount, and you don't need to worry to any exposure for yourself. But if it's a million policy, well, let's treat it. Let's treat whatever you like. So always say, look, the minimum policy is 30,000. Until you are in 25,000, I will not worry about it. And if you are in 29,000 and you are worried about it, just know we're gonna settle and we're gonna negotiate the bills lower to a third of the amount. Because if the provider try to hit you harder, we're just gonna stop send clients to the provider. And it's better for the provider lost $1,000 in one client and we sent 10 to them than try to fight for $1,000 different and never receive another client. You know, the providers are afraid because they need a business. They need a stream of clients, and we provide this stream of clients. So when they come here, bring me donuts. I don't eat sugar, but they bring this stuff is because they are trying to get the clients, and the best way to get clients is send clients to us. But they don't send. Chiropractors send, but normally I never send. You know, so they are trying to get this. So just use this argument. We are trying to get you to 30,000 because if you reach this, we're gonna get an investigator to see how much the policy. But if you have a broken bone, you know, the bill is gonna be 100. So if you have a broken bone, we're gonna hire the investigation earlier just to be sure. But if he just has a pain in the back, he's worried about reaching 30,000, it's not gonna happen. Nicole, a year doing Cairo for $12,000 to $10,000. Yeah. So he don't need to worry. Just let him know that's fine. But if you worry,
cool.
just say it. I'm gonna keep an eye on the balance, and when I'm gonna reach the minimum limits in the state, I'm gonna get an investigator to know the amount and let you know, so you don't need to worry. That's a good argument.
Cool.
Okay, Mambo number 5. No? Are you willing to work? Okay, I'm gonna do another of this, only about Star Wars, next week probably, but if you have any questions, please let me know later, okay?
Absolutely.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Talk to you soon.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Okay, thank you.